Hey guys, tonight we question saints, because history of the Church isn't just written in Scripture. It's also written in scandal, power, and mystery. Welcome to Saintly Scandal. Today's story is exploring the controversy of the primacy of Peter, weaving together the biblical accounts, historical context, and the development of the tradition. The Fisherman's Keys, a story of Peter's primacy. The smell of the Sea of Galilee was a distant memory, replaced by the stench of Rome, a heady mix of incense, sewage, and human sweat. Simon, now called Peter, the rock, felt anything but solid. He traced the rough-hewn wall of his cell, his mind drifting back to another night, thick with fear, around a charcoal fire. "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas." The words of the Nazarene, Jesus, echoed as if from another lifetime. The name meant rock, a strange name for a man who knew the shifting currents of the sea and the fickleness of his own heart. He remembered Caesarea Philippi, a city built around a massive rock face, a grotto dedicated to the pagan god Pan. It was there, in the shadow of that false sanctuary, that Jesus had asked the question, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter, with a sudden, unshakable certainty that felt like it came from somewhere else, had declared, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Jesus' response had changed everything. "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, and I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Matthew 16:18-19. The keys. He felt the weight of them now, a spiritual burden heavier than any net. At the time, it felt like an affirmation. He was the first to confess the truth, the foundation. But what did it mean? Leadership? Or simply the privilege of being the first stone in a living temple made of all believers? The other disciples had looked at him differently after that. There was a respect, but also a tension. James, the brother of John, with his fiery ambition, and John himself, the beloved, who rested his head on Jesus' chest at the Last Supper. Did Jesus love John more? Then there was Paul, Peter's side, the memory a sharp thorn. Paul, the latecomer, the scholar, who never walked with Jesus in the flesh, but claimed a direct revelation from the risen Christ. Paul, who had confronted him in Antioch. Peter had been eating freely with Gentile converts until more conservative Jews arrived from James in Jerusalem. Fearing their criticism, Peter had withdrawn from the Gentiles. Paul had stood before them all, his voice laced with righteous fury. "I opposed Cephas to his face, because he stood condemned. For before certain men came from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles. But when they arrived, he began to draw back and separate himself because he was afraid." Galatians 2:11-12. The rock had crumbled under social pressure. If he was the supreme, infallible leader, how could Paul, a subordinate, publicly rebuke him? Paul's own letters spoke of his pillar status in Jerusalem, but never of a single supreme ruler over the entire church. The leadership was a collective, a fellowship, albeit one where his voice carried significant weight. So how had it come to this? How had the fisherman from Galilee become the cornerstone of a vast, global institution centered in Rome? The historical trail was murky. The book of Acts ended with him in Rome, under house arrest. Tradition, strong and ancient, held that he died there, crucified upside down in Nero's persecution. His bones, many believed, rested beneath the great basilica that bore his name. But the New Testament was silent on him, appointing a successor. There was no final command to Peter to pass on the keys to a man named Linus. The title Pope, Papa, Father was centuries away. The Bishop of Rome's claim to primacy grew slowly, fed by the city's prestige as the imperial capital and the powerful story of Peter and Paul's martyrdoms there. In his dark cell, Peter didn't feel like a pope. He felt like a follower who had stumbled, denied, and been restored. He was a shepherd, yes, commanded to feed Christ's sheep, John 21:15-17. But was he the chief shepherd in a way no other could be? He clutched the promise, not the power. On this rock I will build my church. Was the rock his confession of faith? Was it Jesus himself, the true cornerstone?